Welcome to the Mick, a Mook, and a Mike.
Hosted by four-time Emmy-nominated producer
Frank Pace and retired New York City firefighter, 9/11 first responder, and Vietnam vet, Billy O'Connor.
Today's guest, actor and co-star of Call Me Kat, Julian Gant.
My brother Frank. I was just holding to see whether you're going to say anything or not. My brother Frank. I read the cue card. My brother Frank. How you doing, pal? How you doing today?
Doing great. Doing great.
You got a lot of logos on today. I noticed you a lot of logos. Who you have? You got USC School of LA.
See, I'm loaded with logos. I'm starting to look like a race car driver.
And I got my dress shirt. This is a big deal for me.
You do have your dress shirt.
A shirt without a logo is a big deal for me. It's like a three-piece suit.
We got our guest today is an actor, Julian Gant, who co-stars in Call Me Kat, improvisational actor. Billy, have you ever done any improvisational acting?
I've never really done any acting, but I did a little improv. I enrolled in an improv class out in a place called a Comedy Spot. And I only did it for a few weeks because, like J.C. Carias, who does our movie things, I'm not big on a team playing. I seem to be more of a loudmouth that likes to go out and make a fool of himself by himself. You know?
So it's like, who you're going to satisfy with that?
Yeah, it's sort of like that, yeah. But the thing with improv is what they tell you anyways, no matter what the other person says, when they stop moving and you say, if they fire your question, and you say, you're like, Bill, who are you going to satisfy with that? And then you just go on. You just got to keep it moving.
What do you mean?
Like no matter what they say, like, did you ever steal a chicken from a refrigerator? Yes, and then and then. It's always and then. You got to keep it moving, improv.
I don't get it. What do you mean?
It just takes you to another direction wherever you go.
And then what?
And then exactly. And then.
That's what I've been doing
and
that.
Then, not only did I steal a chicken from a refrigerator, but then I took the refrigerator, I took the chicken and sold it to a gypsy who was stealing a car, like you just keep going. But and then is the key.
Speaking of gypsies that stole cars, Joe West is with us today.
How's that for a segue?
I never stole a car. If it didn't have a trailer hitch, I didn't want it.
Load it up on your gypsy wagon.
Can I just jump in here a second?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, speaking of improv, Billy, your freaking line last week about Frank's haircut had me cracking up.
What? Fold his face in half and cut around the edges?
That was incredible.
You remembered it exactly.
Well, I remember the
line. Joe, have you ever done any improv?
Every umpire does improv. Every argument is an improv. When Earl Weaver came out and he turned his hat around on me, the first time I kicked him out, he turned his hat around on me. I said, "What are you trying to do, get in my face?" And he said, "Damn well I'm trying to get in your face." I said, "Well, come over here and stand on third base. You'll be a little taller." Like pouring gasoline on a fire. He was already upset.
We had a coach at Jacksonville by the name of Barry Myers, who later on moved to Mercer, and he was voted into the Mercer College Hall of Fame. But whenever he would go out to argue with the umpire, he would turn his back to the umpire. He would fold his arms. He would start the argument facing the umpire, and then he would turn his back and argue with him like that. I don't know why he did that, but one time, he did that to an umpire, and the umpire walked down the first base line, and he left. Barry was there arguing with himself.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Who was the most argumentative? Was it Weaver? Was it
Billy Martin?
Billy Martin? Who was the guy you'd hate to see in your face?
Well, you forget we could get rid of him anytime we wanted to. So the thing, I only had Weaver in 2 spring training games, and I kicked him out of both of them. So I can honestly say, Weaver never finished the game I was in. I only had Billy Martin in 1 spring training game, and I don't know. I never saw him. He was in the dugout, so I didn't have any run-ins with him. But one of the toughest people we had was Dick Williams, and who might be as good a manager as I ever saw. And he actually told us at home plate one day, he said, "I don't give a damn what you call out there. If it goes against me, I'm coming out there." So it wasn't 4 innings later that we had to call obstruction on his third baseman, and here he came. And of course, the first words I said to him, "Well, you said you were going to be out here. Didn't matter if we were right or wrong." And he started calling me all kinds of. So it was a pretty good Donnybrook. But you know what's funny is, as tough as he was on umpires, he was a pretty good judge of umpires. And according to the American League, so was Weaver and Martin. In fact, they would commend the umpires that ran the game the way they thought they should. And Dick Williams and Billy Martin and Earl Weaver, they were actually umpire supporters because they wanted the game to be run the right way. So you'd be surprised that some of the biggest pains in our ass were actually promoting good umpiring. They wanted the good umpires. They liked the Bill Howlers and the Nestor Shylacks and the Bruce Flemings and John McSherry and Tom Gormans and those guys. They liked that. And so it's funny, as much as they look like our adversary, they were really on our side.
Yeah. So let me ask you. I've never thought to ask you this before. What year did the American League and the National League start sharing umpires? A two-part question. And I take it from this conversation that you were predominantly a National League umpire before the interchanges. Is that correct?
My first 22 years, I was just National League. The only time I worked an American League game was in spring training or at the All-Star game. And in fact, or a World Series. In fact, I worked the World Series when it was in Toronto. We were just National. In 2000, they consolidated the staffs because they felt like they were getting too far apart, meaning they felt the style of umpires in the American League was different from the style of umpires in the National League, and they didn't think that was right. And in good conscience, it's not. They should all be trying to do the same thing. And that way you don't have National League umpires working the World Series and an American League club complaining that the National League this and that. So all the umpires were brought in under one roof. And it saved baseball a lot of money because it saved them, first of all, in travel, because now they could go to New York and work the Yankees and the Mets. They could go to California and work the Dodgers and the Angels and the Giants and the A's and San Diego. And so it saved baseball a lot of money to do it that way. And it put them all under one roof. And then there wasn't the tip between this National League this, American League that. And they had completely gotten away from that big balloon or that big outside chest protector that they used in the American League. Right. So it was easy to make that transition. And but it was a good move on baseball's part to do that. So it was a good thing. And of course, it's funny because there were cities before that we would go to Cincinnati or Los Angeles 4 and 5 times. Now we're lucky to go there twice. So yeah. It made a difference. If you had a town that you really liked to go to or enjoyed going to, you didn't get there as much. But
well, during the World Series, when you used American League umpires and National League umpires, how did the behind the scene plate work? Did the American League use the balloon chest protector and the National League? And I would think that the strike zone would change drastically. How did that affect calling of strikes, balls and strikes?
Well, if they wore that big outside chest protector, they didn't call the low pitch because they weren't down there to see it. They couldn't get down to see it. They were looking down through the strike zone instead of out into it. The inside chest protector, which they wore under the shirt like the catcher, the umpire's looking at the ball just about the same height as the catcher, so he's looking out into the strike zone. And that's a very good point. And in fact, that was one of the reasons they wanted to get rid of that outside protector. Now, here's another thing that happened back in the 70s when they first unionized the umpires. The umpires had a rotation system so that nobody could work the World Series a second time until everybody on the staff, while he was on the staff, had worked it one time. So every 6 or 7 years, you could rotate a guy in there. Well, the league presidents weren't smart enough to figure this out. So they decided in the first World Series they're going to use their top-rated umpires. So they used their first 3. In the second year they used the next 3, and the next year they used the next 3. So it got to 1975, whatever that year was that the Cincinnati Reds played Boston. where you remember Carlton Fisk was waving the ball and keep it fair and all that. And that year, they didn't have a single umpire work the World Series who was a crew chief or had ever been a crew chief because they ran out of people. And so all 6 umpires that worked the World Series that year were either number 2 or number 3 guys on their staff, on the crews that they were on. So they had Art France, who had never been a crew chief, was the crew chief of that World Series, and it was one of the most exciting World Series.
Well, yeah, it was. Sure was.
Hey,
but none of the umpires in that World Series were crew chiefs.
Wow.
Now that has only happened one other time, where none of the umpires were crew chiefs, but at least some of them had been temporary crew chiefs, and that was the '92 World Series between the Blue Jays and the Braves. And why that happened, I don't know. I think maybe somebody hit their head or something, because that was my first World Series.
Hey, the World Baseball Championships tournament, that was a great tournament. I thought the guy behind the plate was brilliant. An umpire called, he didn't miss I don't think he missed a call. I just don't think he missed a call.
Well, I've always said that I never missed one, and that I always say I don't call them all right, but I was out there for all of them.
Yeah.
You see how I improv that, right? But the World Baseball Classic was started in 1974. It was the first year I went to umpire school, and the director of umpire development, called Barney Deary, called a bunch of us umpires who were in Florida at the time and said, "Would you like to work this series? It's all amateurs." And when it began, it was all amateurs. And I think there was like 10 teams or 12 teams that played in it. And it was in St. Petersburg and Sarasota, Florida. And they did the whole thing in those 2 cities. And then they decided to reinvent it years later. I've actually worked the first one of those too. In fact, I worked in San Diego, and it was Cuba and somebody else. And we had to make sure we had an umpire that could speak Spanish on the field, because we couldn't communicate with the Cubans anyway. But it's been a great thing, and it's good for baseball because it covers everything all over the world. You know, the Japanese, I think they've won this tournament twice.
Yeah.
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 And what a great showing at the end there when Tani struck out Mike Trout, the 2 teammates.
Yeah. Well, could you imagine if they played on the same team? Oops.
Well, they did play on the same team.
No, that's a jibe. That was a joke at the Angels' expense.
Yeah. And I don't, of course, bless his heart, old Gene Autry used to own the Angels. And when he got inducted in the Country Music Hall of Fame, they brought him on stage and they said, author of over 300 songs and been in more than 100 motion pictures. And we give you the newest member of the Country Music Hall of Fame, Gene Autry. And he leaned into the mic and he said, "Yeah, but they forgot to tell you, I'm the idiot that traded Nolan Ryan."
Yeah, that Ohtani versus Trout matchup. I mean, they give Trout shit for striking out, but if you succeed 3 out of 10 times in a normal situation, they put you in the Hall of Fame. So there was 70% chance he was going to make an out, and he just came through with the 70% chance.
Well, I was surprised he threw him a breaking pitch, because he had thrown the fastball by him twice, and he threw it up in the strike zone. He threw it by him.
That's why you're an umpire. And
so he breaks his slider off, and I'm thinking, well, he'll catch up with that real easy, and he just missed it.
Yeah,
because it wasn't that great a pitch. He just missed it.
Yeah,
but that's why hindsight's 20/20.
Yep. Hey,
and that's. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna go on another question. I know that when Real Muto was behind the plate and he was throwing down to second, they said he's thrown out 70 or 80% of his base runners this year. He reminded me of Manny Sanguillen, who had a great arm behind the plate, and also Johnny Bench. Of those 3, or who would you say had the best catching arm you've ever seen?
Well, it would probably be Bench, because Bench could throw you out from his knees, and well, you knew Johnny personally. You've been around him. You know how big his hands are. He's got these bear paws for hands, and he was an unbelievable catcher. And the only thing he was bad about behind the plate was his shoulders were so broad and his head was so big that he couldn't move inside because he'd block you from seeing the pitches. So he sat right behind home plate, right in the middle, and he would catch the ball out in front of him. Now, if you remember back in the old days, they didn't do that. They would move where they wanted to pitch. Well, Johnny came to the big leagues, and he had to put a hinge in his glove like a first baseman's mitt, and he started catching with one hand out in front of him. And so it's what they call framing today. They frame the pitch, where the pitch is caught, and so on. So he's revolutionized the way people catch today. And he doesn't get credit for that because everybody's doing it now. But back then, he was one of the very few that did it that way. And he'd get the ball, and he could get rid of it so quick. He picked guys off many times at first base. He'd throw behind the runner. And I remember one day Joe Morgan was at second base, and Phil Garner, after the ball hit Bench in the shoulder, bounced off the dirt, hit Bench in the shoulder, and it rolled away from him. So Garner took off for the Pirates. He's running for second base, and Joe Morgan says, stand up, stand up. Well, Bench picked up the ball, threw him out. I mean, he's out a good 4 or 5 feet. And so because he told him to stand up, Garner went into second base standing up. And Joe caught the ball and wouldn't tag him.
Yeah.
So, of course, Garner's yelling at him for telling him to stand up. Concepcion's yelling at him for not tagging him. Bench is yelling at him from behind the plate. And the pitcher's pulling his hair out right now because anyway, Joe said, I can't tag him out. I told him to stand up. That's not fair. That's not good sportsmanship, right? So years later, I asked him about it, and he said, you were there. I remember you being there. He says, you know what I should have done was just drop the damn ball.
Yeah.
You would have been off the hook.
Well, you didn't drop the ball on this, Joe. Thanks so much for being. You're always terrific.
A delight.
Always a delight.
Hit him straight, brother. Hit him straight out there.
You're 4 behind. You're 4 behind Gina. You're 4 behind Rita.
No, she's behind me, but I got her in my rearview mirror. I'm a little scared.
Yeah, you'll be behind her tomorrow. All right, my friend. Be well.
Take care, Joe. Thanks for coming on, pal.
Good to see you guys.
Billy, my lad. We did it again. With
Another
Joe West. Well, Joe West is. We've still got Julian Gant coming up.
Oh, yes.
Yes, Julian Gant.
We'll have to improv a bit on that.
Derek, can you get Mr. Julian Gant on the line?
Yes. Let me do that for you. No problem.
So, Julian, that's my partner, Billy O'Connor.
How are you, Julian? Nice to know you.
Hey,
brother.
what's up, Billy? How you doing?
That's my other partner, Derek Harris.
Hello.
Derek, what up?
How you doing?
And
I'm doing good, man.
All right.
Julian Gant.
Yes.
How's it feel to be wrapped on the 3rd season of Call Me Cat?
It's bittersweet, man. It's bittersweet. You like, oh man, this is about to be over in a second, and then you go, wait, are we gonna get another season? And then you go, wait, hold on, I don't want to stop. I want to keep going. So yeah, it's good to have a little vacation, but it's also like I miss everybody, and I want to keep doing it.
Yeah,
you know?
This is one of those really crazy times in the business because you're betwixt and you're between. We had a rap party on Wednesday night or something, and then he's been going to the same place for 3 years. You get used to going to work, and
Absolutely.
then all of a sudden you got a month where you don't know whether you're going to be ever going to be back on that stage again.
So let me get this clear with you guys. You had 3 seasons already, right? Congrats
That's
on
right.
the 3 seasons.
Three seasons.
3 seasons.
Thank
Three
And
seasons.
the fourth is still up in the air, or you got renewed, or you don't know.
Well,
Nah, it's in the air.
Oh, it's in the air. I see.
Billy, if we got renewed, it wouldn't be up in the air.
Yeah, I know, but there's a
But
month
you
period.
don't know. You don't know.
There's a month period, right? That you'll know after a month.
We'll know probably by May 10th, I would guess. May 10th.
Oh, hey, I'm putting that in my calendar because nobody told me that, Frank. May 10th in my calendar.
I'm guessing, but I don't think it's going to be beyond. What? Hey, look at those arms. Where'd you get those arms?
Man,
Holy smokes!
dude.
We keep those covered up on the show.
Hey, yeah, we try our best to, right? I don't want to be a sex symbol yet.
You're working on it.
Right?
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I've been in LA for about 11 years now.
Wow.
I moved out in like 2000, almost 12. Moved out in 2011. And it was a crazy, crazy time. I was acting a bunch in Detroit. And at the time, we had a film incentive that was like a 43% film incentive. So it was a bunch of studios and a bunch of stuff that was popping up. And I was doing some local stuff. And I ended up getting my equity card at Jeff Daniels Theater. But what really got me out to LA was I did this film called Belial Stand. And somehow, so we did it in 2006. Director kept working on it. And it was about a young Muslim student who was trying to figure out if he's going to work for his family business, which is like this cab stand, or if he's going to go to the University of Michigan. So we ended up doing that film. And a year later, he's like, hey, man, I want to add voiceover to it. Oh, okay, cool. We can add some voiceover to it. So we added some voiceover to it. And another year later, he was like, hey, man, I want to add a little animation. I was like, animation? What the hell is this film turning into, man? He's like, okay, let's do the animation. We did the animation. So the next year, in 2010, the film went to Sundance. And I was like, wait a sec. He calls me up. He's like, Julian, guess what? And we shot this voiceover in my apartment in Michigan. So we had to keep turn the refrigerator off. My wife was getting pissed. So we turned the refrigerator off. He's like, hey, I'm like, hey, man, we can't do this too many more times because the food gonna spoil and I'm gonna have a problem with my wife. My wife gonna be like, excuse me, what's happening here? So we end up doing it. It goes to Sundance. Once it gets to Sundance, some people from CBS caught wind of it and watched it and stuff. And we had a great turnout at Sundance. We were like number 2 under Winter's Bone with Jennifer Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I met with CBS, and it was the executive vice president of CBS, Peter Golden, and then a lady named Karen Church, and another lady named Julie Pernworth, and then another lady named Fern Ornstein. So we had this meeting, and they're like, so Julie saw the movie, and she thought you were amazing in it, and this, that, and the other. When are you leaving? And I was like, I'm going back to Detroit tomorrow. He's like, tomorrow? He's like, well, Julian, I want to be completely honest with you. If you really want to do this thing, you have to move out here to LA. And he was like, we usually don't do this, but we got a bunch of pilots that we want you to audition for. Julie, she's going to get you the scripts. You go back to Detroit, you put yourself on tape, send it back here, and we'll see what happens. I said, okay, cool. So I put them on tape. These are some of the most amazing auditions that I ever put on tape. I heard nothing. I was like, oh no. So then I told my wife, like, babe, I think if we really want this to happen, we got to move out there. So that following year, we saved up some money. And I think it was like $2,300. We saw this place online. We never saw it in person. We sent the money out to this dude. And we ended up coming out, seeing the place, and moving in the same day, basically. It was crazy. So that was my experience getting from there to here.
You loaded up the truck and you moved to Beverly Hills.
Yeah, and we loaded up a Mustang, a 2-door Mustang.
Wow. So if you want it to happen in this business, you got to make it happen. You can't sit back on your launches. There's too many guys out there looking to become stars. You got to make it happen.
That's right, man. You got to, man. Man, they always say it takes 2 things to make it in this business, and that's talent and drive. If you are lacking one of those things, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, but I think it also takes a little bit of luck.
Oh, a lot of bit of luck. You're right about that.
Because if Julie Pernworth hadn't seen that movie, you might still be in Detroit fixing up cars.
100%. 100%. Which I love to do.
Was that your friend's first movie that he made too? The guy who made that you got your break
Yep,
from?
that was his first film.
Did he get a break out of it too, or did he go on to?
He's still doing stuff right now. He's more of an activist now for community, like a community activist right now.
Yeah, Julian doesn't talk to him anymore.
Hey man, I'm a star now.
He's arrived. I got no time for that shit.
Yeah, no, he's doing great. He's doing great.
Yeah, that's good.
How did Call Me Kat come about?
So, Call Me Kat came about right before the pandemic. It was February. And during pilot season, of course, you're auditioning for everything. So I was auditioning for a lot of stuff. And I was getting close, and nothing was really panning out. So I auditioned for Call Me Kat, and right after the audition, I believe the pandemic started. It was just everything shut down. I'm like, oh wow. And then during the pandemic, it was like March. In March, my agent calls me and she says they want to do a Zoom, and they want you to, audition in front of them via Zoom. And they say you can read with your wife. I was like, okay, perfect. So I read with my wife, and we did the audition, and it seemed like it went okay. And then after that, I didn't hear anything until April. And then April comes, and they're like, we want you to do another Zoom with the producers and the director. And then once you do the producer-director Zoom, they're going to give you some notes, and then you'll make another tape and put yourself on tape again, and you'll send it out. And that'll be your test. I said, okay, cool. So I did that, sent it out, and they were like, yeah, they want you to change your shirt. And I was like, change your shirt? What kind of shirt you want me to put on, man? So they changed my shirt. And they told me to add a backdrop, because we had this, at the time we were living in this studio apartment, and they were like, they don't like the backdrop. And I was like, well, it's only 4 other walls in, or 3 other walls in here. I don't know what we're going to do. But okay. So I put up a sheet, and then I shot the audition, sent it to them, and then they called me up and told me I got the part.
Wow, that's amazing, right? The Zoom audition.
Did you do any of those auditions with Mayim?
No, I did it. It was just the director and one of the producers. I never saw Mayim.
This is Mayim. Yeah. This is Mayim Bialik we're talking about.
That's right.
Yeah.
Never saw Mayim.
Wow, that's incredible. The first time I met Mayim, she was 14 years old. And,
oh my gosh.
And she was doing a pilot called Malloy, which got picked up.
Okay.
But I was doing head of the class at that time, so I did the pilot during hiatus season, and we stayed in touch. But we didn't. We stayed in touch. I didn't see her for about 10 or 15 years, and we reunited on the set of Call Me Kat.
Wow.
But she was phenomenal even then. She knew everybody's lines in the play, even when she was 14 years old.
Now she's the title character, Kat.
Yes,
that's right.
Cat's Cafe, is that it?
Yes.
What is a
cat? Hey, man,
what is a cat cafe exactly?
Yeah. I asked the same question when I read the sides. I was like, hold on, wait a second. So it's a cafe where they have a bunch of cats, and you're able to adopt a cat if you fall in love with one, and you get coffee at the same time.
Wow.
A cat cafe, huh? Call Me
Right.
Cat. I noticed in the sitcom, I guess that's perfect name for a sitcom.
That's what they are.
That's what it is. That's why I
Billy,
thought I'd throw the name out there.
You've got a lot of
but
insight
I noticed
today.
that he sometimes she walks aside and talks to the audience, like a George Burns type thing, like Richard III, if you will.
Richard III.
He walks to the edge of the audience and talks to the audience. That's a concept you don't see a lot in sitcom.
That's right. They got that from Miranda. So the show is based off Miranda, which is the BBC. It was a show on BBC, and that's what she would do. She would break the fourth wall and talk to the audience. So basically, say some things that the audience might be thinking. And they took that concept, and we didn't know how well it was going to work. Based off of, like comments and stuff that was happening on Facebook, like, oh, I don't know if I like this show. I don't know. But it created a world of its own, man. Because it's totally different from Miranda, but they do share that thing.
Break the fourth wall. I've never heard that term before.
That's because
I'm not in the business.
Because you're a fireman.
I broke a lot of walls. We don't break them the same way.
Yeah, well, I believe you broke a few walls in the fire department, and you broke a few bar walls too.
I broke a few walls. I broke a few bar stools too, and a few bar stools when I was at it.
And when had you known Kyla beforehand? Kyla Pratt?
No. I met Kyla the first time we did a Zoom. We had a group Zoom where we read the script, and that was the first time I met her and Cheyenne. I had not met anyone on set or any of the co-stars. It was like, but I think Zoom really made us bond during COVID, of course we were locked in our houses, and it's like, you see these people on Zoom, and then you create some sort of bond. And when we saw each other in person, that was even crazier. It was like, oh man, I'm seeing you for the first time. I feel like I know you, but I really don't know you because we've never met. But yeah, and the friendships are just amazing, man. Everybody's just so dope. Everybody's so good, so cool, so welcoming. Because this is my first series regular role, and coming into that with the experience that I had from single cam, and then trying to fall in line with what multicam really is, and falling in line with the rhythms of multicam was crazy. But everybody was so welcoming and like, oh yeah, that's it, and me finding my rhythm and us finding all a rhythm together was great, man.
And when that was when did you see everybody for the first time on screen?
That was in September.
September
of 2020.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. That was the first time we all saw each other in person.
And how was that?
It was crazy. Cheyenne was way taller than I thought. I was like, damn, you tall, man.
Cheyenne being?
Cheyenne, who he plays Max. Cheyenne Jackson, he plays Max in the show.
And he was a big Broadway star too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was.
It was and may still be.
He's got the voice.
Yeah. Right. He got that voice. He's got the voice of an angel, man.
Yeah. And Max was apparently a college friend of mine, of Cat. Of Cat.
That's correct. Yeah, and he works in the bar that Carter owns, and that's how they're,
Carter. And you're Carter.
Carter. I play Carter. That's right.
So he works in the bar that you own, and it's like a karaoke thing. They do karaoke. They do every other.
Yeah, it's a dueling pianos bar.
Oh, okay.
And they got two pianos set up. You never, even though it's a dueling pianos bar, you've never seen a duel.
That's because we had to pay two piano players.
Oh, exactly.
Cut course again, Frank. I gotta know what you gotta do.
That's
Frank know what he's doing, man.
He knows what he's doing. He's saving it for the finale, the two pianos.
Yeah,
for the big finale.
Exactly.
Tonight, two pianos.
And you know Tony Sepulveda from the Groundlings, is that correct?
Yes, I know Tony from the Groundlings. So I've been a groundling. I started the Groundlings as soon as I got here. So before moving to LA.
And I'll just explain to the audience, Groundling is an improvisational theater in Los Angeles.
That's correct. It's an improvisational and sketch theater in Los Angeles. So where a lot of people came from, where like Kristen Wiig, Melissa McCarthy, Maya Rudolph, the names go on and on and on. It's a fantastic theater to go and learn. And I was talking to Jeff Daniels, and Jeff Daniels, he told me, this was while I was at the Purple Rose Theater doing a show that he wrote called Escanaba.
And Jeff Daniels is a famous actor.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I wasn't talking to you, Billy. I wasn't talking to Derek. I was talking to the uninitiated audience who may
He's talking to the fourth wall.
I'm talking to the
fourth wall.
Perfect.
I say walls. Wow.
Yes.
Billy,
Yes.
why are you yelling? Again, you're yelling.
I'm yelling at the fourth wall.
Stop yelling.
The fourth wall is missing.
Stop yelling.
Keep yelling, Billy. It's okay. It's all right.
Okay.
So during this conversation, I asked him, I said, I'm trying to figure out where I want to move. I'm thinking LA, but I also like New York because, I was doing a lot of plays at the time, and I was thinking maybe Broadway could be the thing and people would respect me as an actor. And so he told me, he's like, look, Julian, you're young. He's like, I'm going to be completely honest. If you're trying to do it, you should go to LA. Another guy telling me to go to LA, just like Peter did. And I was like, okay. All right. And then I was like, well, if I go to LA, what the heck am I going to do? And I loved improv and I loved sketch. And, I was always the class clown, always acting a crazy fool in school. And I was like, maybe I'll do some improv, because I was doing improv in Detroit at the time at like Second City and stuff. And so I said, okay, they have theaters of the Groundlings, UCB, all these different improv theaters over here in Los Angeles. So once I came out, I tried all the theaters. I fell in love with the Groundlings, and I just kept going, and I became a Groundling. It took 5 years. it's an extensive process, man. So they have something, you have to go through the core track, which is consists of 3 levels. And then they have the performance track, which is 2 levels. And then after that, they have something called Sunday Company. And from Sunday Company on, Sunday Company is a year and a half if you're able to stay in it. So what happens is after 6 months, the groundlings vote on you because they come to performances and stuff. And if you get the majority vote, you can do another 6 months. And if you do another 6 months and they watch you and they vote on you, you can do another one. So you can do up to 3 terms, which is 18 months. And at the end of it, you vote, or the groundlings vote. And as they vote, they can vote you to become a groundling or you're done with the program. So it was crazy extensive, and it's a huge accomplishment, when you do become a groundling. And I think as of to date, since 1974, it's been about 360 groundlings.
Whoa.
Wow. So not many.
So
Pretty exclusive.
it's easier to get to the NBA, man.
Yeah.
Pretty exclusive.
So at the beginning of that process, did you say, I'm not going to cut my hair until I hear from the groundlings?
Hey,
and 5 years later, look at that.
Hey, let me tell you about this hair. Okay. So now we're getting ready to get deep. After all the atrocities that was happening to Black people at the hands of the police, and just all the crazy things that were happening. What happened in August of 2014, when Mike Brown got killed in Ferguson, I had just been so upset and like, why is this happening? Why can't people just, love each other? And I was just so pissed off. And as a sort of protest, I was like, I'm gonna just let my hair grow to show that this should not be intimidating. Mm-hmm. My hair, my lips, my nose, these Black features that I have should not be intimidating. And it's okay to love yourself and to embrace who you are. So I haven't cut this since that day, the top of it.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was sort of a protest to show like I'm proud to be who I am, and there's no reason anybody should fear this.
And I'll give the Call Me Cat people credit because they didn't ask you to cut your hair.
No, they didn't. And I've been asked to cut it so many times.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, I've turned down so many roles, based on they want me to cut it.
Really? That's amazing.
Well,
to me.
in addition to being a protest, it's a very unique look, and it's unique. We had Artis Gilmore on last week, and Artis Gilmore is a famous basketball player, and he had the largest afro in the world in the 70s. Now he's totally bald, but I'm just saying.
So take care of that hair.
So take care of that was what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fleeting.
You don't know when you're gonna go bald. You just like artists, man. Just like artists, man.
When did you know? When did you know you were going to be in show business?
Oh my God! In high school, I think I've always been a class clown, always trying to make people laugh. From voices, we used to be in Spanish class, and as people were reading along, everybody as a group are reading in Spanish. Hola, cómo está? De parte de quién? And then I would always have a lag time, so everybody would be saying it in Spanish, and then you would hear my voice at the end. Hola, de parte de quién? Cómo está? So, yeah, man. That's when it hit me. And then when in college, college was crazy because I was always afraid to say what I really wanted to do.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to my first year I was at Eastern Michigan University, and then my second year I transferred to Wayne State. So my first year I was like, I'm a fucking genius. I'm a fucking genius, guys. I'm gonna go into pre-med. Right? Found out I was not a genius. I was like, nah, man, this is not working, right? So then I transferred, and I was like, okay, that ain't working out. I'll go ahead and go into computer engineering. That didn't work out either. I was like, man, what is this? So I was like, well, I can talk. I got the gift of gab, so maybe I'll go into communications. So I'll get my degree in communications with a specialty in television and film production. So I did that. That ended up working out, and I graduated from Wayne State. And after that, all during that time, I was still doing theater. I was doing theater, and I was at Second City that was in Detroit. And I did some Second City shows, and then I was also on this local access television show, which was like a Detroit version, a low budget Detroit version of In Living Color. So I had done that, and and I was always just making people laugh, man, just wanting to, put smiles on people's faces, man.
Well, why didn't you think you wanted to go into show business initially? Why'd you want to be a doctor, or why'd you buy?
Money, man, money.
Well, what are they're not paying you now?
No, I'm getting a lot of money now. No. I think I was always afraid to lean on that because you tell people like oh my God, like my first year here, when people would ask me, "What do you do?" and I had so many jobs, Frank. I had about 20 jobs. So while I was here, I was a bellman. I was a bellman at the L'Hermitage Hotel. I was a bellman at the Sunset Tower. I was an overnight front desk person at the Broadway Hollywood. So all during this time, people would ask me like what I do, and I'm like,
I'm in the groundlings.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I would be intimidated. I would be scared because when you say you're an actor, everybody out here is an actor, and it's like, yeah, you're an actor. Yeah, okay, yep. Good luck with that.
Yeah, right.
So I would always be intimidated to say it. Because it's like it's such a huge dream to accomplish, and just like you said, it takes luck, and it takes timing, it takes all these different things to happen in order for you to succeed in this business. So I think during that time, when people would ask me, what do you do? I would say, oh, I'm a bellman, or oh, I'm I would rather say that than say I was an actor.
Right.
Until I started making money. Once them commercials started hitting, then I was like, what do you do? I'm an actor. What have you done? That's the follow-up question.
Yeah, right, right.
And that is like, if you haven't done a lot, you're like, nothing, but I'm an actor.
Yeah.
Well, what have you done? I've done some local plays. I've done this. So I think once you solidify yourself and start making money in it, that's when I was able to go, I'm an actor.
Do you consider Jake from State Farm an actor?
I do. I do, because I know what it takes to do what Jake does.
Absolutely. And the same thing for Lily on the AT&T commercials.
Lily, Stephanie Courtney as Flo for Progressive.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
What was your first paid gig? Your very first paid gig? And when
out here.
Oh, out here in LA?
Yeah.
First paid gig. Let me think. Oh my gosh. First, it was a commercial. Oh, no, I know what it was. Do you remember the website Funny or Die?
Yeah.
No, Billy does.
Yeah, I do.
Billy. Okay, so Will Ferrell created this website. I think it was Will Ferrell and Adam McKay, if I'm not mistaken. So they created a website called Funny or Die, where you could go ahead and people can put funny videos up. Mm-hmm. And I did a couple of auditions for Funny or Die, and they basically brought me in as like a house person to where I can do, sketches and spoofs of commercials and stuff with them. And I think it was with, I think it was a TikTok ad or something like that. Or Tic Tac, not TikTok. I'm sorry, Tic Tac ad that I did, and then I just started doing a bunch of Funny or Die things, and those were sort of my first paid gigs. It'd be like $500 here, $1,000 here. So those were my first. Oh, actually, I'm lying. No, my first gig. I know what it was. It was Key and Peele.
Oh, Key and Peele. Okay, I got that down in my notes. Yeah, tell us something about that.
So what happened with Key and Peele was that was my first job here in LA. Wow. So I knew Keegan from Detroit. Keegan Michael Key, who's one of the stars of Key and Peele, and he's gone on to do amazing things. Great actor. So Keegan Michael Key, I knew out in Detroit. And once I got here, they had some auditions, and Keegan was like, yeah, I want you to audition for my show. And I said, okay, perfect. So I auditioned and I got that. I got the part. So yeah, that's what it was. Key and Peele.
Okay, so you got Key and Peele was your first paid gig. Then you did a few commercials. Then you did the thing with Will Ferrell, of course, Funny or Die, which
That's right.
coincidentally enough, the guy who partners with him is the son-in-law of a fireman, a good friend of mine. Anyway,
Oh, wow.
Notwithstanding that, when did you first consider yourself, finally say to yourself, you know what, I'm an actor? How long did that take after the paid gigs?
Oh my gosh. I think I knew in my head I was an actor when but I wouldn't say it. I didn't admit it. I didn't tell other people, but I knew that I had something when I did this play called Blue Door. It's by Tanya Barfield. And this is when I got my equity card as well, when I was doing a bunch of stuff in Detroit, with Jeff Daniels and stuff. So I had auditioned for this play called Blue Door that was at the Williamston Theater in Michigan. And the play, it was a 2-man play. It was me and another person. And in this play, I played about 14 or 15 different characters.
Wow.
So the play is about a mathematician who has this night of insomnia. And during this night of insomnia, this mathematician, who is denying his blackness, is visited by all of his relatives to remind him of who he is and what he stands for. So during that play, I felt like when I would see the reactions of people after they seen the play and they would come up to you and they crying and stuff, I'm like, oh, I'm doing something special. I'm having an effect on people. I'm making people feel something. So at that point, I knew I was an actor. I didn't necessarily want to tell people that I felt that, but I knew that, because it's hard to let people know that you believe in yourself without them thinking, oh, you're cocky or you're this or you're that, But at that moment, I felt like I can do this.
When was the first time you stood on stage with someone like of the stature of Mayim Bialik, Jeff Daniels, somebody like that? When did you go toe to toe? Who was the first real star that you went toe to toe to and held your own with your acting chops?
I think it was in Good Girls. So I did this show on NBC called Good Girls, and I was with Retta. I was with Christina Hendricks and Mae Whitman. So me being able to hold my own with those three, I felt like, okay, I'm able to do it with the professionals.
Great. Great.
Yeah.
Moving on, going back to Call Me Kat. Your chemistry with Kyla is incredible. Why don't you tell me a little bit about working with her?
So Kyla is such a giving partner. She is someone who not only helps you be better, she makes everything better as far as the scene goes. She's able to inject an energy in the scene to where you go, wow, that wasn't here. And she's like a lightning in a bottle, It's a special thing to be able to work with someone who has the comedy chops and is just a great actress, It comes full circle when you go, working with these people has prepared me to be able to work with someone like Kyla, because, we go toe to toe all the time, and me being able to hold my own with her because she's brilliant, says a lot. She's incredible, man.
As is Swoosie Kurtz, who's been around forever.
Yeah. Yes. Swoosie, again, and Maya, all those three women. Okay, let me tell you. So the four people who had the most experience, of course, in sitcom was Mayim, Kyla, Swoosie, and Leslie. So me and Cheyenne, during the first couple of weeks of run through, during that first season, we would be behind that bar sweating. We were like, oh my God. They getting ready to come to us, Cheyenne. I know. Like, you feel it? I was like, man, I feel it, man. I'm like, We got to deliver because they just killed it over there. They was in that damn cat cafe and the cats was meowing. Come on, man. So we end up, just trying to hold our own with those, four people and work. And Leslie was just, the dude says 3 words and everybody's dying laughing.
You're speaking about the late Leslie Jordan, who unfortunately passed away. We're going to ask you about him. So why don't you tell us a little bit about Leslie Jordan now?
Leslie, just a breath of fresh air. That's the thing about this cast. Everybody on this cast, you go, dang, man. You hear horror stories like, oh, this person's a diva, or this person's that, or this person's. Everybody on this cast is amazing. And Leslie Jordan was somebody who could say 2 words. He's one of those people who just got funny bones. He just exudes funny. And he would have these stories that he would tell you, man, and you just die laughing, man. He's somebody who's just, he could turn a room around like that. If there was anybody sad or anybody just not feeling well, he was able to just change the trajectory of the room like that.
Yeah, he sort of, I mean, everybody in our business knew who Leslie was, but I think America glommed on to Leslie during the COVID.
That's right.
Why don't you tell us about what he was doing during COVID?
Yeah, he was on Instagram like crazy. So he was posting, I think, like 2 things a week on Instagram. And he would just start off, how y'all doing? And from that, he invited everybody to feel his infectious, funny energy.
Well, hey, what y'all doing? Coming to you from my little place in West Hollywood. The sun is coming in, but I'm sitting here talking to my 2 best friends. This is Stick Girl.
And he blew up on Instagram. He got like 6 million followers on Instagram, man. It was crazy.
Yep. Everybody was looking forward to Leslie Jordan's Instagram posts.
Right.
Oh, that's amazing. And he played the baker at Cat's Cafe. Right?
Yeah,
he was the head baker.
The 4'11" baker.
That's right. Yep.
And he died in a car accident, but you said it was related to a heart attack?
Yeah, so he had heart failure, I think, while he was driving.
But he left a drastic legacy in his wake. That's for sure.
Yeah, and he left a hole in the show.
Yeah,
and we didn't know how we were going to go on, man. But we had our fearless people like Mayim and Jim and Maria, Jim Patterson and Maria are our showrunners for the show.
Maria Ferrari.
Yeah, Maria Ferrari and Mayim. Those 3, working together. I don't know how they did it, but they ended up making something happen. And I feel like once that happened, I immediately said this show is over. Like, I don't understand how it can even last. I don't get it. It's not the same show without him.
Yeah. Well, you guys came back. You guys came back for really strong, because when I was doing Suddenly Susan, David Strickland passed away toward the end of the 3rd season, and we had gotten a pickup for the 4th season, but we never could come back from David's passing. You guys came back from Leslie's passing, and I give you all a great deal of credit. As that leads me to Mayim, of course.
Yeah.
She's a brilliant actress and a very, very smart producer, director. She directed a movie with my good friend Candice Bergen, and Candice raves about Mayim as a director. Why don't you tell me a little bit of your perspective about Mayim?
Mayim is somebody who pushes so hard for those voices that aren't heard. She pushes for diversity. She pushes to make sure all of the people that she's an advocate for. She pushes to show everybody that what their talent is. Like, I don't think without Mayim, I don't think I would even be doing the show. It's just when she believes in you, she wholeheartedly does it 100%. And for her, I think that was a reason that I got the show. And if you look at Call Me Kat, we have such a diverse cast. You have me, you have Kyla, you have Cheyenne, who is LGBTQ. You have Leslie, who's LGBTQ. It's just, she wants to represent everybody. She wants the show to represent people as a whole. And she goes to bat for you. She's always fighting to make sure that you're okay. She's selfless. She's one of those people who just, if she believes in you, she's going to fight tooth and nail for you.
Yeah. And she's a pretty good host on Jeopardy as well.
Yes, she is. Right? Super. And smart. She a brainiac, man. Some of the stuff she knows, I goes, you should know that.
Well, she's a neuroscientist. She's a doctor.
Right.
She's got a doctor in neuroscience.
Exactly.
She's
I could use her. I definitely have to take a look at my brain, Frank. I'd like that.
Man. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the future hold? I hope beyond the 4th season of Call Me Kat, what are your hopes and dreams for yourself, your career?
So my hopes and dreams, I want to continue to put out work that people feel something from. I just did a film, me and a buddy of mine, Aaron Inman. We did a film in Florida last year, and it was a 4-man crew basically, and it's called Shepherd. I play a pastor who is down and out. All these things are happening to him. All these tragic things are happening to him, and he's trying to keep the faith. So we'll see what happens with that. I want people to feel. So I saw a first cut and it felt like it was great. I just want to continue to do work that makes people feel something, not just comedy, but drama, action. Yeah, and I'm writing like crazy. I like to write my own things, and produce my own things as well. So yeah, man, I want to work with dope directors. Like I want to work with, like Jordan Peele. I want to work with Donald Glover. I want to work. There's so many people that I want to work with. I just want to continue doing work to make people feel.
That's great.
Are you writing scripts? Or are you writing screenplays? Or
no? He's writing notes. He's writing notes on a postcard.
What is he writing?
He's writing notes on a postcard.
Could be right to the 4th wall. I don't know what he's writing.
Hey, right to the 4th wall, man. I got Post-it notes. I'm writing on my scripts. I'm writing on Call Me Kat script. I'm writing everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's screenplays, and I was thinking about doing a 1-man show. So, yeah, we'll see.
That's great stuff, man. It's great stuff. Just keep pushing.
I know Derek's got some questions for you.
Well, questions are along the lines of what you guys were just talking about. I want to know what's your dream role. Like, what would you absolutely love? Like, and I mean, shoot for the moon. What would be your the incredible role that you would love to have?
You want me to tell you this right now?
Yeah.
All right, if I tell you this, man,
we won't tell anybody. Don't worry, nobody's going to
take it from me. But okay, I'm going to tell you.
All right.
My dream role would be to play Willie T. Ribbs. You know who Willie T. Ribbs was?
No.
He's a stock car driver?
Yep. First black NASCAR driver.
Wow.
His story is pretty incredible. It's a documentary out called Uppity, and in it, you see all the things that he had to go through when he was, driving a race car. So I would love to play that. He's got so much heart, and he was an advocate for Black people being able to be in that sport. I would love to do something like that. I love biopics, man. There's so many characters. I just want to bring characters to light that people don't know a lot about.
Well,
You know,
I'll give you a piece of advice.
Yeah.
Write the play as a one-man play, because everybody's looking for IT. So if you got IT in a play, that'll give you grounds to expand it to become make a movie of it. Like Billy and I wrote a book called Lamar's Gamble. It's a tale of the AFL NFL merger. It's been optioned for a movie because it was good IT. So IT, every studio is looking for IT. So if you write it as a one-man play, you've got some IT that you can hold on to, and from that you can make a movie out of it.
Well, expanding on that idea, do a lot of people write plays nowadays? Isn't that a really good way to break in? I'm asking you because I don't know. I mean, I would think.
Maybe.
I said IT. I meant IP, of course.
Yeah.
But
intellectual property. I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
That is.
What a great title for a documentary too, Uppity. I mean, it says so much with one word. You know, I mean, that just that grabs you. That's a great lead.
And have you talked to Mom about that?
No, I have not. I have not talked to her about it. But you know, she's somebody that I didn't necessarily know the perfect route to go. So
Mayim's the perfect route because she could produce it and direct it, and you could star in it.
Right.
And she's got a production company. So
yeah, you're right about that.
Can I invest in it? Will you take a check?
No. You do not.
Right?
You do not want Billy.
Take one of my checks.
Yeah, you do not want Billy to invest in it. By the way, Billy, how's your Bitcoin doing?
Bitcoin, terrific.
It's doing great.
Oh man, wait. Did he invest in Bitcoin?
Not only did I invest in Bitcoin, I bought lots in New Orleans 3 weeks before Katrina landed, exactly where my lots were bought.
Oh man!
Oh man, I'm the man. If I bought a cemetery, people would stop dying. I'm the guy you want.
You bought a cemetery in New Orleans.
I did.
Where they bury people above ground.
That's hilarious.
It's terrific stuff, though, man. I think that's great. I'm glad Derek brought up the question because
And
Uppity a great title.
It's a great title. I mean, it grabs you right away, and it says so much with one word. I mean, you know right away, that it's racially motivated. You know, that it's going to be. It's terrific.
And then going back, go ahead.
Fantastic documentary, man. Fantastic.
I'm going to check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Then going back to you mentioned Donald Glover. You'd like to work with him, right?
Yes.
So how many people mistaken you for Donald Glover?
One.
Just one.
Just one.
Right.
And what's funny is when I first got out to LA, I met Donald.
Okay.
So I come out to LA. And this is my first year here. One of the first shows that I went to was a show called Shitty Jobs that Donald would do with another dude named DC. It was a whole group of them, and it was a group called Derek Comedy. Donald, and it was like 6 other people. I think Ben Schwartz. Yeah, Donald, Ben Schwartz, DC, and some other people. So I go to this show, and we're all sitting in the audience, and we're watching them. So they come up, and they're like, okay, we're going to do our show, Shitty Jobs, that and the other. And they gave us a breakdown of what they do, and they asked 3 people in the audience, like, what their jobs were. So I told them about a job that I used to have at a moving company. And they were like, oh, a moving company? Oh, that's great. And so another guy, he was like a lawyer, and I can't remember what the other guy was. But they ended up picking my job. So I go up on stage, and they have to interview me. And while they're interviewing me, I'm telling them about all these characters that were at the moving company, and everybody in the audience is dying. They're cracking up. I mean, they're going crazy, and I'm looking like, wow, is this the show? Am I the show right now? So I tell them about this, and then they have a great improv set based off of my job, and all the characters. So at the end of it, we walk outside, and I was talking to a bunch of people, and everybody was laughing like, man, you're funny, you're this, you're that. I'm like, oh, thanks. So Donald comes up to me, and he's like, man, you are hilarious. And I said, oh, thanks, man, that means a lot. He's like, no, I'm serious. He's like, dude, are you doing improv anywhere? And I was like, yeah, I'm actually, taking some classes at the Groundlings. And he was like, that's cool. But he was like, you should be here at UCB. And I was like, man, Donald, I'm broke. I ain't got money to pay for that and pay for this shit too. What you talking about? And he was like, look, I know you ain't got the money. He was like, dude, I will sponsor you to come here.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, dude, thank you, man. Thank you. So that meant a lot. And I tried to get that sponsorship, but the lady on office was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, okay, never mind, forget it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, he offered to sponsor me. Yeah.
You work at a movie company in Detroit?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
I put myself through school with 5 years on a moving truck with some of the most unique, beautiful characters I'd ever worked with in my life.
100%. Same. I mean, I had this dude named Mo, and Mo was just. Hey, I'm gonna tell you, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I don't care about what you say. I'm gonna tell you something. But the thing is, you need to understand. Look, aliens are real. They exist for real. Yeah, dude. I mean, we had so many different characters, walks of life. I had our boss there. His name was I ain't gonna say his name.
You can say his name.
His name was Lawrence. I'll say his first name.
Okay.
Right, and he was something else, man. He. Can I tell you something? I need y'all to be proactive and make sure y'all move the couches as fast as possible.
We had a boss named Sandy Gold, and we had
Sandy Gold. Oh my God,
Sandy Gold, and I got a million. We have to tell each other stories, but we had a guy named Eli. I'll tell you a quick story about Eli. He said, Sandy goes, I'm going out, Eli, watch the warehouse. Okay. So he comes back and Eli's sleeping in front of the warehouse. And he said, Eli, I told you to watch the warehouse. He said, I did. There it is.
Hey, look, we had a guy at the movie company, and he would pass gas and it would smell so bad. And we would always say, like, man, you got to stop passing gas. And he would always go, I can't help it. It's my insulin. Like, what are you talking about? Your insulin. You know, I had to take my insulin, and insulin is pig urine.
I'll tell you one more story. We had a little skinny guy, 5'4" or so, weighed 115 pounds or so, named Noli Bowser. And Noli was the strongest man you've ever seen. He could hump a refrigerator up 6 flights of stairs, not even miss a beat. Well, Noli was married to a big, fat woman. I mean, a grossly intense fat roll. And Noli also had a stutter. So we said, Noli, how could you live with Dottie? And he says, well, it's easy. Missed the whole fuck the roll.
Fuck the roll. Oh, geez. Oh, man. It's the whole fuck the roll.
Oh, my God.
Billy, he gets on your case, Billy.
Dude. And like Noli, hold on. I got one other story I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
Right? We had this guy named Wally. All right. And Wally, I don't know how he would do that. We would go into the house to move, and every time he'd be like, hold on, first I gotta make a sandwich. He would go in these people's refrigerator and make a sandwich, eat the sandwich, and go, all right, now I'm ready.
Well, how many times did you guys pack bottles of vodka and empty the vodka in the thermos and fill it with water and put it and then pack it?
Oh my God! I don't think I've ever had anybody do that one.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
We'll talk.
You got to talk. Yes.
Well, I did the same way. I was with the Teamsters for a while.
Oh, that's right. You were.
I delivered appliances and stuff in the South Bronx and Harlem. The guys I worked with, the first thing they do is ask them to use the bathroom, because especially if it was an old woman, they go right through the medicine chest.
Yeah.
What does she got? What is she taking? What does she got? Look what I got. I found this. I found this. You know? I mean, it was.
Oh my goodness.
First thing, can I use the bathroom, ma'am? As soon as I knew who I was working with, can I use the bathroom? That was the deal. The Teamsters, yeah.
Well, you've been a great interview, Julian.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're terrific. I hope to God you pick up a 4th season. I hope you go on and that uppity thing, man. That sounds like a great great lead, man. I would go.
Oh
with that.
man, thank you, man. I appreciate you guys.
And now you can get out of the bathroom.
Exactly, right? Because that's what I'm doing right now.
I'll tell them who Donald Glover is at once you.
We know who Donald Glover is in Atlanta. I know his father, Danny, also.
Oh wow, that's hilarious. Pleasure,
Julian. Be
Thank
well.
you very much, Julian.
Hey, y'all
All
take
the
care.
best, man. All the best.
All right now.
Continued success. Take care.
Thank you.
Funny guy, man. Really funny guy. Nice guy.
He's a great guy. He's a terrific guy.
Live wire too. He's always like he's lit up, you know.
I knew he would be good. Well, now we have another live wire. Let's go to J.C. Carias, who was a guest a couple of weeks ago. J.C. Carias did a movie review for us of Banshees of Inisherin.
Oh, the Banshees of Inisherin.
And it was so funny that he did a review for us of
JC.
he did a review for us of Cocaine Cowboy. So let's
Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine. So let's see JC.
Hey there.
Let's see
JC still trapped in this hotel room. I'm gonna make it through, but to do it, I'm gonna give you another movie review. Today, I'm talking about Cocaine Bear, and this movie delivers. Cocaine and bear. It is just full of that, and it's amazing. I love this movie. It's hilarious. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It is by no means a cinematic masterpiece. Don't walk into this film thinking you're going to get something that is beyond the idea of a bear high on cocaine killing a bunch of people. This is Jaws on cocaine, but it's a bear, and it's great. Elizabeth Banks directs it. Great little performances by a bunch of actors. It's a big ensemble. They don't really make you give a shit about any of the characters, but I kind of like that because, fuck it, they're all going to die getting ripped up by a bear, so by the end of the film, you're rooting for the fucking bear. Also, big shout out, it's Ray Liotta's last on-screen appearance, and fucking Ray Liotta rules, so if for that reason alone you get to watch Ray do it one more time, go see this goddamn movie. It's Cocaine Bear, baby. I love it.
Oh, that was a great interview, isn't it?
A great review.
Great review. And so we'll periodically have more reviews by J.C. Carias in future podcasts.
I remember when we interviewed him, and Derek had said, I'm getting a kick out of, because his hair was wet when he came out of the shower. And he said, I'm just getting a kick out of watching JC's hair expand. As the interview went on and it dried. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
He's a beauty. He's a beauty.
beauty.
Well, we had a lot of laughs today in this
did.
podcast between Joe West and J.C. Carias and our main guest, Julian Gant.
All J's.
All J's.
An All J podcast.
An All J Jacksonville podcast also.
Yeah.
But, well, I think we've done it again.
Another masterpiece.
Derek, we did it again.
You've done it again, fellas. I can't believe it. You made it through one.
What is it, like 131 or 135?
130. This will be 36. 136.
Wow. Who would have thought?
This could be up there with this last podcast could be up there with Lawrence of Arabia. We might get 10 nominees.
Might be up there with Lawrence. Might be up there with Lawrence of Arcadia. Be well, folks.
Be well is right. Thanks for looking in. We certainly appreciate it as always.
Bye-bye.
Next week's guest, songwriter. Hits include Country Music Song of the Year, I'm Moving On. Vincent Williams. We'll see you next week.